So tonight we are featuring, like I said, two of our Get on Board Teachers of the Year. So it's really special. We're spotlighting these former and current Get on Board Teachers of the Year, educators who are not only implementing the curriculum, but truly making it their own in powerful and creative ways. Before we dive in, I did send Matt and Deb a quick little message today. Skateboarding in one word. So, Deb, if you do have it, if you could describe or show up your one word, how would you describe skateboarding?
I made a copy, sent it to myself, meant to print a copy and didn't bring it. But my one word, and I went through a few, but I ended up with joy.
Okay.
Because it is, first of all, it brings me a ton of joy. I can't wait for skateboarding unit. And it brings my students so much joy. They just have the best time every year. They ask me, when are we going to skateboard? When are we going to skateboard? When are we going to skateboard? So a lot of joy.
Awesome. Love it. So Deb is the PE teacher, PE and health teacher at Swayze Central School in Brentwood, New Hampshire, where she works with about 300 students in grades pre-K through 5. She brings an incredible background in early childhood education, health, and PE, and she's been running Get on Board for 3 years now. Deb is known for her creativity, her focus on choice and inclusion, and the many ways she extends skateboarding into STEAM, art, and student-led learning. So again, awesome to have you with us, but Deb, and obviously you've done an amazing job, extending on the curriculum in super creative ways, really making it your own. And can you share some of the ways that you've, adapted the Get On Board program to kind of like meet your students where they are?
Sure. Hi, a little Natoli there. Or I probably said that wrong. Natoli? Natoli? I don't know. Anyway, hi. Um, so I the biggest adaptation I would say that I've made beyond like what you guys have brought to the table with the adaptive gear, I would say there's probably two things. One is I have some just like rolling wire carts. I don't know how else to describe it, except it's things you find in a lot of schools that hold like the boxes that hold books or they hold bins. So I took all the bins out of those and I use that as a way for kids to they hold I have one hold on either side and I push or pull that cart around the gym for any student who's feeling like they want to stand on the board, but they're really scared, they're really nervous, they want to get a feel for it. It helps them get a feel for turning, it helps them get a feel for just standing on the board and moving. And then with the older kids, they actually like to do that with their friends. Like one of them will pull the cart while the other friends hold on, and they take turns doing that. So that was one big thing that really, I feel like helped a lot of kids be like, I'm really scared, but I want to do this. And doing that gave them the opportunity to feel like, oh yeah, I'm feeling it now. I can get it. I can do this. The other thing is after the second year or probably into the third year, I tried to expand with stations. And one station, and this probably came out of a thing that talking to Matt, because I got to shout out Matt C. He's amazing. He's been like my contact person. And Matt B is agreeing with me right now. Um, like if I ever had any problems, I'd email Matt or text him and I'd be like, I don't know what to do with these kids now. What should I do? What do you have an idea? But I think actually Matt sent the little tech decks one year. Like you guys started sending those out, right? And so based on that and talking to my STEAM teacher, who's awesome too, she's like, you could use some cardboard and tape and set up a station where they're building, mini skate parks. I was like, that's brilliant. Let's do it. So I put two like stand-up folding tables together. I put out a bunch of cardboard and masking tape and some blocks. She had some big wooden blocks. And I was like, here you go, build a mini skate park for the tech decks. And there are kids who that was like their most comfortable way to access skateboarding to start with anyway. And sometimes they'd be fully geared up with their helmets and their pads, but they're hanging out at the table creating these cool, they're like, look at this jump, and then you go here, and then it goes here, and then it goes there. And just a way for them to be a part of it all, even if they were feeling a little uncomfortable about getting on a board or anything like that. So I'd say those are the probably the two biggest ways that I've kind of adapted for some of my students.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Thank you, Deb. I see we have Matt has joined us. Coach Matt Bristol, bringing home the victory tonight, 6-0. Matt Bristol comes from Essex Middle School in Essex Junction, Vermont. PE and health teacher there, and he's the 2025 Get On Board Teacher of the Year and a Shape National Teacher of the Year. Matt has been a huge advocate for Get On Board, not just in his own school, but obviously across his district and beyond, and has helped other educators feel confident bringing, skateboarding into their programs. So also, Matt, grateful to have you with us tonight. Um, Deb just answered one of the questions, and I realized, Deb, that I like jumped forward. I have my notes here. I got my cheat sheet and it's double-sided. So when I asked that question, I was like, okay, we're gonna kick off with some adaptive stuff. So I apologize. So Matt, can you talk about how you know, you have adapted, get on board for to meet your students?
First of all, thank you, Braden, and hello, everybody. It's nice to see some familiar faces, and for those that don't know me, it's nice to meet you. Um, yeah, I think I'll talk more through the lens of voice and choice, and how that provides lots of options, um, opposed to just maybe thinking about adapted. Um, but how I adapt it to my students is offering, first of all, the language ride at your own risk. And so that really means you never have to stand up on a skateboard if you don't want to, right? And then splitting the space after initial skills into two different spaces, which I call the slow go whoa zone, which we're still going back and forth. And that's where we'll be standing and learning and or just still on our butt belly knees exploring. I also might have, like, after a few lessons, like a bowling alley over there, as another way where kids just get to smash into the pins, any way they want to. And then the other side is more like a roller rink. Um, and they kind of just get to practice cruising, pushing, and skating. And then this year there really was a push to like learn tricks, like ground tricks, I call them. And so there was another area for that. And um, yeah, I can already tell that going forward, I like the idea of stations that Deb mentioned to kind of push them a little more, because I think there's been a lot of just explore at your own pace, which is also nice, right? Like students need to enter where they're ready to enter, but providing all these different options is nice. And then obviously the polls are great. And I definitely need to do a little more to boost the variety of skateboards we offer. Your pack that you gave us initially that we had, the loaner pack, I'll call it, had all the different variations from adapted equipment to we called, I think you called them in the training carrot boards. But basically the boards they have to earn, like the penny boards and the long boards, are it's like the cooler different boards, right? You have to show me you have the skills in order to use these. Um, I noticed not having those the second time around this year and just having like the regular decks, which was awesome. But some students were just not wanting to engage. Like I had a few seventh grade girls who loved the penny boards, but I didn't have any, and therefore they they weren't buying in. They just decide not to.
Mm.
Yeah, that's where I'll stop for now.
Those fun boards, man. Those fun boards, they are the best.
I'll just say though, at all that, just the voice and choice is the more options you can give, a lot better.
Oh, exactly. So now going back to what I was originally going to ask, how did you guys first hear about, the Get On Board program, us at First Push, and what was it that made you guys say yes to bringing skateboarding into your PE program?
Um, well, I went back to school to get my master's in PE and health. So this is only my ninth year teaching, because I had a degree in early childhood and then I stayed home and worked for a while. But I think it was during one of my internships, but I'm not really sure, to be honest. But somehow I came across it might have been Nayford. It could have been, just some other PE teacher along the way that was like, "Do you know about this skateboarding group?" I don't think you guys were at Swayze before I got there, but I'm not sure about that. Um, so I'm not exactly sure where I heard about you, but once I did, I was like, of course, that's a no-brainer. I need to get you there because I really try to do like lifetime skills, things that are out of the box, not just your straightforward, like, sports skills. I still teach a lot of sports skills, but I just like we happen to be on property where I can take kids snowshoeing. I found out about um, a free Nordic ski program called Nensa, or it's through Nensa. But if anybody's interested in that, I can share my email, where they give you skis as long as you're using them. And so I just try to do some different stuff like that. So skateboarding was absolutely like we definitely need to do that here. And luckily I have we have a PFG that they give teams of teachers or specialists $500 to use to like, either do something special, but something that will enrich all students. So I always ask them every year, can I use this money to rent the gear from Get On Board? And they're like, absolutely. Because I teach every single student, so they know every student is going to have access to it. Um, did you ask us to talk about what might have stopped us? That's on the list here, but
Yeah.
what we're
Well,
worried about.
I was gonna say all I asked so far was just, what made you say yes? But
Okay.
if you want to get into that, yeah, like
I
what,
can wait and Matt can chat about like how he heard about it and
of course.
okay.
Yeah, I like that step by step. So, kind of how we got connected. I just kind of was writing down my story as I was listening to Deb. Um, I was at Maine AFERD, I believe it was in 2023 conference, presenting for Open. And I'm walking around the exhibit hall and I see like these two dudes. I know it was Matt. I don't know who was with you, Matt, at the time. It might have been Bo, but I definitely remember you
Yeah, I think it was
because
Bo.
I think I just mostly talked with you. And I was just so curious, just one, it's a small, it's a good sized conference for a state, but it's like a smaller conference. So it's a small exhibit hall. So it's like, I feel like that makes it that much better for anyone to stick out, especially when you're unique. And then I was like, you need to come to Shape Vermont. And they came in 24 and did a session. I was in that. And then we started talking about trainings. And they're like, let's train the whole district. And so easy, amazing, like an opportunity you can't turn down kind of thing, especially mainly because of the people who work for First Push and are doing all the amazing work, but also just their process was super awesome. And then they came back to Shape Vermont again, and I think they like in that time frame it's also from 2023 to 2026, Matt and anyone else, Braden, right? Everybody from First Push, like how much growth has happened in that 3 years? And is it like compared to the 3 years before that?
Oh, I mean, yeah. Oh, you weren't here. You didn't get to see our map.
Oh,
Um,
I missed the map. Yeah.
the map. So we did. Basically, we've gone from, just being like New England based, and now we are, we're growing all across the country. We're out in California, we're in Colorado, um, Alabama. It's growing, and that our goal is to really get into all 50 states. Um,
And
that's the big push.
the message I think I'm trying to send is someone who didn't even know about First Push in 2023 and learned a little bit about where they were at then to what I got to see happen. I just feel deserves so much applaud and just really grateful to have connected with them. And I feel like it's grown, and they have just so many steps, and they're thinking always to the future. And so yeah, just excited. I'm excited that the Matt's going to come back, I think, to Shape Vermont one more year this year. And then like, that's what I'm saying. Now they're cycling through their states and where they put their money. Like that's what Open does, right? Like they have their year planned out in advance. And so I just see them, what I'm trying to say is I see you as an organization just raising the bar continuously year after year. So kudos to you.
Thank you. That was the goal. Did you guys have like any concerns starting, and really like how did your students respond, those first couple lessons? You're like, hey, we're gonna skateboard.
I was definitely worried. I mean, am I just turned 60, so when I started, I was, 56 or whatever, 57. And I was like, I'm an old lady and I'm gonna hurt myself and break a hip or something like that. And I don't know how to skateboard. And how can I teach skateboarding if I don't get on a board and all that kind of stuff? So I was nervous, but I was just like, of course I have to do this anyway. So, and that's again, I'm gonna keep shouting out Matt. Sorry, you guys are all great at First Push, obviously. I just have had the most contact with Matt, and Matt came, he brought all the gear and he showed me how to do it. He taught the first lesson, he taught the second lesson, he probably watched me or helped me teach the third lesson. And then I was like, okay, I can do this. And then just every year I felt more and more comfortable doing it. And I get on the boards now and I have my own longboard and I really want to get a cruiser. But anyway, that's another story. So uh, the kids at first definitely were psyched, but I definitely had a lot of kids who were nervous too. I mean, like I said, I teach pre-K to 5, and I think probably I was a little bit nervous about how the kid's going to deal with this too. Is anybody going to get hurt? Even though I'm not one of those people who's like worried all the time about kids getting hurt, I let them do a lot of stuff. So but the kids were very psyched, and every year I just see them get more and more excited about it and more capable, because now I've had the program every year, and they have just, even if that's the only time they're skating, I still see their skills. Like they get back on that board, and they might not have skated since the last time I had boards in my space, but it does not take them long to just get right back into the rhythm of it. And I have everything from kindergartners and first graders push plant pivot. Like it shocks me. That's always like, oh my gosh, this I have a kindergartner who's like skating across the gym. And then I have fifth graders who just want to stay on their belly and their bottoms and their knees, which is fine, like whatever works for them. But it's definitely something that every year they're like, when are we going to skate? And they just get so excited when I tell them skateboarding's coming up. So it's been great. Nobody should hesitate to do it. If they're scared, that's okay. And I think also like letting kids know that you're a little nervous about it, but you're going to do your best. Like you're kind of modeling really good vulnerability and grit and perseverance for them too.
Excuse me. Yeah, I kind of wrote down concerns into two columns. So like there's the logistics of getting it going. And the only thing I'll say about that is at my old school, what I learned from my principal who started a bike program, like a mountain bike program, we had a pump track and these other kind of, a little bit of risk taking things, and expensive, right? And you kind of just like, if there's a will, there's a way. Like if it's something you want, you'll navigate, you'll figure out the barriers and you'll find a way to get over them. And that's how I felt about skateboarding, because like, why skateboarding? Skateboarding because it levels the playing field. I love anything that levels the playing field. The majority of my students have had experience and have their preconceptions about basketball, about soccer, about a lot of the things they maybe experienced before, but skateboarding is not one of them. So I love any activity that levels the playing field, and I saw skateboarding as that, especially something that I've shown a little bit of interest in my life here or there. And I'm like, I want to get back into this, right? So just if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way to get through the expenses. Like I'm gonna have to figure out how to replace my boards. Like gonna have to set aside funds for doing stuff like that, or finding Facebook Marketplace and getting used boards and stuff. But if there's a will, there's a way. And then I'm just at middle school now. So that middle school lens, I'll just say the biggest challenges I had for some students were like wearing the hairnet, like too cool for school, right? Um, and then I think when I offer so much voice, or what I should say is choice, and I trust them to do what they feel is safe and best for their skill level. Um, some students may use that as a cop out to not try. Some students need to be challenged. And I think you have it somewhere written in your script, Braden, but like this idea of what, like the impact psychologically and physically, like when we accomplish a challenge, like what that does for the brain and the body, that feeling successful, or that perseverance, the word that's already been out there tonight, right? Persevering through multiple failed attempts to get that trick, right? I think that's what makes skateboarding, as I said, like levels the playing field, but also the fact that there's so many different entry levels. Um, for example, one thing that's missing from my kit right now, I really need to get is the rubber trucks. I think that would really give a couple, two, three rubber truck boards would give that much more entry point into. I might not like to push and skate because I'm scared about that, but I like this little bouncy thing that I can try tricks on, and I'm still involved. So um, what I'm trying to say is there are concerns, but I also feel like it's so cool and awesome and powerful that you got to find a way to get over those barriers, whatever comes out.
Right, it's that healthy risk taking. It's that we're trying to build. And as far as the rubber trucks go, you can always use gymnastics mats. I would just take the kids. They didn't want to be just on the board. They did want to be like, on trucks, wheels, something. So I either put them on, had them in the grass because the school I'm at now, we don't have a gym. So I'm outside pretty much year round. Or I just pull out some gymnastics mats, put the boards on there. Yes, you still kind of like run that risk of the wheels moving a little bit, but if they were trying to do, just get their balance down. If they do want to try like the ollies, that type of stuff, it's a safer surface instead of just on your gym floor or, like I said, or outside like me. Um, but there's always like options. And I think that's what you said, like as you brought up too, like there's no wrong way to ride a skateboard. And like the skateboarding community is so welcoming that, if they did try to take it to a skate park or whatever, like it's no one's gonna rag on you for how you're riding the skateboard. And I think that's what's awesome about it. Yes, it's an individual sport, but the team and the community that surrounds it is pretty incredible. Um, but no, love it. Does there, like I said, with those like concerns, like did you see any concerns from, admin when you were first like coming up with that idea? Because I know I did when I first pitched, like, hey, I'm gonna bring skateboarding to my school. My administrator, big basketball guy. He did end up retiring like after that year. He's like, the gym floor. I was like, listen, I was like, these janitors are marking up the gym floor more than these skateboards will, bringing out these risers and like walking around, with, the trash bins and stuff. I said, that's scratching the floor. These skateboards aren't. So did you notice any, pushback between like administration or maybe even some, fellow teachers?
I am very fortunate with my current administrator, who unfortunately is retiring this year, but hopefully will still be good. He had no qualms about it. And like I said, because I had the PFG who was willing to do the funding, like support the rentals of it, it wasn't there was I'm not having any cost go to the school at this point. I am excited about what's coming up tomorrow because we did some fundraising and we just bought a pod of 20 boards and helmets and pads, and we're having a build day tomorrow with Matt. He's coming to build 20 boards with our fifth graders. So I'm really, really pumped about that. So that's going to mean that we have our own boards. I'm still going to want to rent, cool boards from you guys, which is what I'm going to do this March, is rent the fun boards and some of the, like the gib board, the balance thing, all those balance things. Like for me, when you guys upped all that gear, that the year that you started bringing all that gear in, it just like completely opened it up for so many more students, I feel like. And that's one of the ways I use that gear is like in stations. But anyway, my admin has been great. Luckily, I haven't had any. And other teachers, I think the biggest problem for some of the teachers has been so the hair nets are like a thing. And even like Matt, I'm in elementary school, so most of them don't mind wearing them. Even some who bring their own helmets want a hairnet. And I'm always like, listen, um, because I feel a little bad about the environment. But anyway, beyond that, the kindergartner teachers like put them in a little Ziploc bag with their name on it and take them, and then they bring them back the next day. And so I feel like there's a little extra stuff that they do. I didn't ask them to do that at all. They just came up with that, and I'm thrilled that they came up with that. But I was like, I can count on kindergarten to always have their hair nets that way. But other kids, I always try to say, listen, hold on to it, put it in your cubby. We have 3 more lessons. I don't want to keep giving you a new hair net every time. Um, why did I talk about hair nets? I think that can be an issue for teachers because I'm always like, these do not come out in the classroom. They stay in your cubby. Do not take them out and wear them in they like to wear them as a beard. They wear them all over their head in different ways. And their teachers are like, nope, in the cubby. So I always tell them, these are not to play with, but save them.
It's because we do some awesome modeling, right? We tell them like, listen, like we can be like some really cool lunch people, right? And when as soon as we put it on, they want to wear it and they want to keep it. And my students did the same thing. They're like, do you have any more, Mr. Ver-" I was like, no, Mr. Verge is out. You got one. You're good. That's awesome. How about you, Matt?
Um, Pushback, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just got lucky. Again, I feel like it was for me, it's all about timing, I think. And I just kind of got lucky with my timing when I met First Push and connected with them and just the situation I was in. I'd only been at this is my 4th year here, so I'd only been there for a couple of years. But luckily I had a close enough connection with the curriculum coordinator. Um, and this might have been, I don't know. I've this is my 4th year here, and I'm on my second principal. So I don't know. I wish I might been in a time of transition, so I didn't really have to deal with the principal at all, and was able to connect right with like the district. So the curriculum coordinator, who works with all the content areas, but putting a lot of work into health and PE. She was all aboard. Like she was like, yeah, and we were able to pay the costs of like the training from split it amongst each of our PD monies. We all get a certain amount of PD money. You might not have that. We're very fortunate. We get a decent amount of that. And then First Push kind of hooked up the rest of it for us, just I think because of the connection. So again, I think I was lucky, but if I'm like at this point, I need to maintain my own thing. And so I have no pushback from my principal. He loves it. The district had promoted it all over the district website. So it was more celebrated than any pushback. So that's what we like to hope and see. And maybe this is a sign of maybe in the future we don't have to ask that question, right? And maybe people don't push back about what the awesome ideas that PE teachers and health teachers bring to the table. They're like, yeah, actually that's innovative and amazing and will do wonders for our kids. So um, yeah, that's and then real quick on the hairnet, since we talked about that. Yeah, middle school's a different thing too. My colleagues at the other middle school across town, who we share the pod with, there is a PE teacher. She just moved from an elementary level, so I think she's still in that elementary mindset. She's collecting them and putting them in plastic bags for all her kids, and she's keeping them in bins by class and doing that. And that's great. I'm doing it more the social emotional, the SEL standards that we have. One of them is responsible decision making, and I kind of basically say coming prepared to class is part of that. I'm giving you this hairnet. I offer incentives if you have that hairnet at the end of the week, with the exception if it rips or something, and or if you bring your own helmet, that also counts as coming prepared, right? And then that was kind of like this year was my first year of holding them to that standard. I think last year I did something else, but this year was a little bit more of, all right, how can the students take responsibility for this? You're in middle school. I need you. And they would leave wearing them on all kinds of different ways. And it sometimes proved that the kids that wore them all day were the same kids that showed up with them the next day. Um, and I just relied on teachers to manage that in their class if it bothered them. Some teachers didn't care if a kid wears a hairnet. I know if I was trying to teach math class with a hairnet as a beard sitting in front of me, I'd be laughing and struggling to focus. But again, at what point do you accept that they're middle school and you got to let them be who they are? So um, I think there's probably better ways around it. I know um, the 3 to 5 school next door to us who does biking, they just use spray. They don't use hairnets in between their classes. I'd say the bigger issue is the end of the day with the sweaty pads. That's another thing. Then I have sixth grade, a 40-minute sixth grade back, like butted up to an eighth grade, and the eighth graders have to come in and put sweaty pads on. And I have to lie to them and tell them it's spray. And or be real, be real. It's sweat. If you don't want to skate today, I get it. Or and I'm also, hey, is that part of ride at your own risk? At what point do I allow a kid not to wear pads? If so, that's just coming from watching this guy you guys have hooked up. He's an after school program. It's a guy, I think it's Kentucky, Knights Middle School,
Yep.
right? Yep. So
Chris.
it's like a lot of time his kids aren't wearing helmets or they're wearing the wrist guards that you guys don't provide, but not knee pads or something, or not a helmet, right? So that's something I'm curious about.
So this year, like talking on that, I actually only had my kids wear helmets. I mean, I'm elementary school. We're outside. The kids bike to school like pretty much every day. And the only things they're wearing are helmets. And I pretty much gave them the option. I gave them the choice. I said, listen, I said, as long as you have your helmet on, I'm happy. If you do want the pads are here. I said, we taught them how to fall safely. Um, I said, so it's at your own risk. I said, if you are going to, put pad up, yep, you got your safety net there. Like you fall on the knees, fall on the elbows, right? Or you're not going to get the scrapes. I said, worst case scenario, yeah, you fall, you're going to get a little scrape, you're going to get a little boo-boo. I said, so it's your choice. And I'm knocking on wood right now. I didn't have any falls. And the kids seem to, I'm not going to say like enjoy it more, but they're kind of like, oh, thank goodness. Because I think the same thing happened in my last class of the day where, my second and third graders, my students are combined. And they were like bummed last year because it was like, oh, why are they sweaty? Why are they all wet? And I kind of said the same thing. It was like, oh, they're just cleaned. They're just clean, guys. They're good to go. But yeah, what Chris is doing, at for the Knights skate club, that's it's awesome. He got all that gear donated, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. Matt C. But yeah, I believe he got a majority of his gear donated, and I'm actually not sure about the helmets. I know he's got a bunch of kids that like they skate hard, and he actually had a bunch of seventh graders come and help teach elementary kids how to do it, which is like exactly what we want. Like we want these kids to become skate coaches, to become coaches, and like share, peer to peer coaching or peer to peer teaching. And he was able to accomplish that. And we were like, I think Matt, Zach, and Bo and I were just like, yes, that is it.
You know what you're saying right now, though, right? This is that's a future session.
That
That's a
is a future session.
uh,
Exactly.
if
Uh,
it's not already organized.
we're working on, we got a lot, these sessions, we got a lot of stuff in mind. Like Zach and I are constantly talking about who should we have, what can we talk about? What should we do next? Um, and with that, like, I really kind of want to talk about like the impact, that you guys have noticed with the Get On Board program with skateboarding. I know, like, as a teacher myself, like I've seen it, the confidence build, but what changes have you guys seen in students because of either, the Get on Board program or because of skateboarding? In particular, students who may not be like as success or feel as successful in like traditional PE, games or activities. As you stated, Matt, like it levels the playing field. Like everyone is kind of like at square one. You might have a couple students who like have skated before, but it could be far and few between. I know when I was teaching in Salem, New Hampshire, I had probably about 6 or 7 students. Yep, 6, 7. Here we go. That skated, and I kind of used them as coaches, way back then to be like, hey, like, so and so here is really like struggling. Like, why don't you go over and like, I think it'd be better coming from you how to do it. Um, so, I noticed that, but what have you guys noticed, in your schools?
Um, I would definitely say I see a lot of confidence come out of the skateboarding unit for students. Like I remember one of my first years, I think the first year teaching it, a particularly like anxious, I think she was a fourth grader at the time, third or fourth grader, who would really just kind of shut down and be like, I just can't do it about lots of different things. And she was starting to get to that point when we were doing something. I think we were just trying to practice putting our back foot up on the end of the skateboard and so we could do like pivot turns instead of uh, turning by leaning. And I could see her getting all worked up about it. And I just kind of went over and started working with her individually. And she started to do it. And just the change in her demeanor and how good she felt about herself and how proud she was. And like it just kind of that she had overcome this thing that was really, really freaking her out and scaring her. So things like that, I see that quite frequently with students. I definitely see the students who are not your typical like team sport athletes getting a chance to shine when skateboarding happens, either because it's something they've already done or it's just something that they're really excited about and they're working hard on when it finally comes to the skateboarding unit. Another thing that's happened is that like last year I worked with a student um, he helped me get the pancake flip. So I put mats out for the first time last year, my gymnastics mats for tricks, and that was really, really helpful. I had tried like carpet squares and bath mats and things like that, but the gymnastics mats are great because they hardly roll at all. So I had a couple of those out and kids were practicing the pancake flip or ollies or different things like that on it. And I really wanted to get the pancake flip. And this kid who have like a on again, off again good relationship with because he's a little bit of a tough kid, but he was like holding my hands and he's talking me through it. And like he worked with me for like 15, 20 minutes for me to get this pancake flip. So it was pretty amazing to have that kind of connection with him. Um, I just see a lot of great stuff come out of it. And I'm really excited about the build tomorrow. That's like a whole nother level of what these kids are going to be able to do with skateboards. And then to be like, we built these skateboards. We're going to have them actually initial them, like built by and like have them put their name on them. And, and then in March, we're going to ride them. Actually, tomorrow, if we have time, we're going to put on the helmets and ride them in the hallways or something just to test them out. But, like a whole nother level. I have a kid who has the hardest time in PE, but he is so excited to build tomorrow. He was talking to the STEAM teacher, like, let me know what kind of, size rocket or socket wrench you need. And I can bring that because he's got all these tools at home. He works on cars with his dad. Like he is pumped to build skateboards. So, and he might not even want to get on a skateboard when they come, but now he probably will want to get on a skateboard. Like I'd be like, Harrison, here's the one that you signed and built. You want to try it out? Things like that. So, there's a lot of great things that can come out of it.
Especially that ownership, like you said, of building like I built this. This is my own board. I think that's awesome. That's gonna be a great event. Bummed I can't go, Matt.
Sorry.
I wish I had an event. I built most of mine myself and then decided not to be so rushed and use my students in my the first week or the unit group I had. So I have some good pictures I got to share with the crew of some students like putting together the boards. And then it also became very useful to teach them how to tighten and loosen their trucks because kids would notice, whoa, this is like way too stiff, I can't turn, or like, whoa, this is super loose, I can't balance. I'm like, okay, well, let's learn how to do this. Um, I guess it could be similar if you teach your kids how to like inflate any ball, or if you take control, because some teachers like to have all the control, and I respect that. But also, there's I numbered my boards is one way to try and teach kids, like in helmets, like go for the number that you usually go for. But at the same time, it gets mixed up across classes, so there becomes a kid that wants to like tighten it or loosen it. So teaching them that is valuable. And so involving students in the build process, or every now and then, like when you have to maintain, right? Um, but I think when you know it's a big impact is when it travels outside the classroom. And so like when the parent goes, oh, you taught the skateboarding unit. You're the reason they're asking for a skateboard for Christmas. You're the reason all of a sudden they want to go buy a skateboard. And then that opens a whole nother door of learning. And I think, Deb, you just kind of highlighted that story. I kind of smiled when you talked about it, like how much you're demonstrating to your students of like, hey, like I'm learning too. I'm just as engaged trying to learn this new trick as all of you should be. And so you're being the model for them. And I think that's so inspiring. Um, and that's what I also talk about, leveling the playing field. It's like anything that I don't have a ton of experience in, it's going to challenge me to the level that I'm going to need to be so engaged that the students are seeing me learn and try new things and persevere through that trick or whatever it is. So um, to add to that, I'll just say like core teachers. I had some teachers who are like, okay, I want to come learn this with my students. And now I have, eighth grade science teacher on the slow go woe zone with a pole. They've paddleboard maybe once in their life. So they're like, okay, but they geared all up and they're right there with their kids and then they're taking selfies. So I think it speaks for itself. It's it like everything Deb said, just in terms of the confidence builder. I wanted to share my screen if I can. I know I'm doing a lot, but okay, I can. Let me just share this. Meaningful PE. If you've heard of the framework, give me a little like head nod. The meaningful PE framework has 6 features technically. One's not shown here are fun, and then the other one is joy. And at middle school, I feel like students are going to experience fun through one of these other 4 features, right? And so in bold, you'll see the 4 features: social interaction, motor competence, challenge, and personal relevance. And then the kid-friendly language, how I explain it to my students, is in quotes. And something to add to social interaction is being with friends and or just classmates that make things more fun or enjoyable, right? And I got this idea from couple other teachers using this. So at the end of my classes, I didn't do this with skateboarding, but I'm doing it with jump roping. And right now, my students have 0 experience really with jump roping. So that's just like skateboarding. It's leveling the playing field. Days 1 and 2, it's all about social interaction. If I ask a student, go stand next to the one you most connected with today, most students are going to stand next to social interaction. In middle school, they like to be with their friends. By lesson 2 and 3, when they've started to challenge themselves and try new tricks, half the students have moved over to motor competence because they're feeling their skills improved. And some students have moved to challenge. Maybe as I talk about this idea of like the parent saying, oh, that's the reason my kid wants a skateboard now. How many kids maybe at the end of a skateboard unit might move to personal relevance? And then the final thing I'll say is along this line, as students left skateboarding this year, I can exit my screen, stop share. I just had simply on the whiteboard, did you have fun today? Yes or no? And as they went out, they said yes. I put a check mark. I said why. And some of those reasons started to add up. So I'd put more check marks next to I got to go fast. I got to be with my friends. That's why I had fun today. And like I put check marks next to the ones that reoccurred and very few no's. If it was a no, it was because they admitted they didn't engage with the lesson, so it wasn't fun, or two, they got hurt, or they were scared, but mostly yes. So it has an outside the classroom evidence that has a great impact and an in class visual that it has a big impact. So
Heck yeah. I mean, I was getting messages from our local skate shops here, and they're like, "Yep, such student just came by with their, brother and sister. They got this deck, this and this," and like they're letting me know so that I can like ask some questions in class because I did. I had a couple students. Girl got one for her birthday. She was turning 8, and I just asked her. I was like, "I heard you got pink wheels." She was like, "Yes." I was like, "I heard you got." I can't remember the board's name at the top of my head, but I was like in some indie trucks. She was like, "How do you know all this?" I was like, "I just know. I could sense it." But, like I think I had probably 10 students all get, skateboards from, Courier here in Portsmouth. And Ian, the owner, was just like so thankful, and he's just like, oh, he's like, this is awesome. And so he's been trying to push, or he has been pushing what we do, at least like here again in the New England area. But he's trying to get out to New York. He goes to New York quite a bit, and trying to get into like schools out there. So
can
I
I
think.
just say one more thing? I know we're probably trying to stick to an agenda, but about responding to students who ask as someone who doesn't know. So I don't know about you, Deb, but I don't know that much expertise on purchasing a skateboard. So the first thing I ask them is, what's your intention? What kind of skateboard? What do you want to do with your skateboard, right? Because that's like, are you going to buy a penny board or something like that off Amazon? If you want to go get a real skateboard and like do stuff, I tell them, which luckily Zach set up this great for Vermont, like all the local stores near our district and stuff like that. I'm like, go to these stores and ask questions. Don't be afraid just to walk up to them and be like, I'm new in skateboarding. I just did it in PE and I want to get into it, but I don't know anything. Here's my budget. Teach me.
Mhm.
And that's gonna be probably the best way, unless they're really savvy and like to go onto YouTube and just watch YouTube videos. Like they could do that, but going to your local community, I just think would is how I suggest my students do that. But also first think about what's your intention to skate.
Exactly.
Um, can I, this is kind of like backtracking a little bit, but Matt, I was thinking about when you said that I had one year where I had some issues with fifth graders, and I actually reached out to Matt C. and I said, I've got these fifth graders who are just not engaging. What can I do next with them? And he came and he did some stuff with them. And it was partly just like a tough year, but also I needed like next steps. And one thing I did with that group or another group at that time was I had them record videos. Like, so to show what they know, they had to get into groups and they had to teach the basics to second graders. So I said, you're going to make a video that would teach second graders how to, the things like the seat cover to C2, the push plan pit, like all the different steps of it that I would usually talk about. I had them make videos and they really loved that. They did a great job. They worked in groups. I had one kid who wanted to use it as his celebration of learning piece at the end of the year. He wanted to be able to show that. So the other thing is that I have a little scooter that I just got somewhere, and I always have like a scooter that has a tall handle that you, so I have that, and I bought a scooter, and I let kids bring in scooters and their own skateboards if they want to, and of course their own helmets and pads. Um, and I had a kid this year who asked me if he can bring in his rollerblades when I do the skate unit, and I was like, sure, just make sure you have all your pads with you, but yeah, why not? So like I try to offer them they love this. The scooters are huge because any kid who's afraid about being on a skateboard, they have that handle and it just makes all the difference for them. So, but that's just a thought for, I know you're offering them a lot of stuff. So if you, and I know like it costs money, but also sometimes, yard sales, you can really pick up some of those old like razor scooters at yard sales that if they're not too rusty, they're still, in pretty good shape to use with students, but.
I need to piggyback on that again real quick too. If any of you know Megara Reagan, she taught in New York for a while. She's retired now in Connecticut, but she's um, uh, elementary district teacher of the year. I don't think she won national, but well experienced woman. And her and this other really awesome PE teacher from New York have always explored with this idea of an all wheels unit, which is exactly what you're talking about, Deb. And that's something I'm looking forward to trying with middle school. I probably wouldn't use our skateboards outside unless I switched our wheels, but would let kids bring anything that has wheels. And at middle school, I'm going to have some kids that show up with no wheels. And then I'm like, okay, well, what do I do with them? And it might be you don't like wheels at all, but you like to walk. So I might have to add that in. But just as exciting, yeah, just like whatever you have that you like to travel on, come in. But also that's like maybe the second wheels unit. Like the first one is a bike unit or it's the skateboard unit. We've explored some of these other things, rollerblading. At the end of the year, you bring in whatever you have at home that has wheels and we have a good time. So I like that idea. Thanks for reminding me that.
That's awesome. Now we have a couple of other educators who have done or are doing a wheels unit, either incorporating scooters, bikes, um, the wiggle sticks. I mean, you name it, they're trying it out. Actually, we used to have those, right, Matt? We haven't had those for a bit.
What's that? The ripsticks?
Rip sticks. That's what I was like.
Yeah, we still have a
They're
couple in
kind
the
of,
trailer. I'll drop them off at a few schools once in a while, but I think they got tucked up back somewhere. I had to do some repairs, so I kind of have been. It's been cold, man. I don't want to go
I
in
know.
that trailer.
I feel you. It's cold in that trailer. Um, do you guys have any, not like closing up, but like, do you guys have any advice, to give, for teachers who want to try get on board, or, or thinking about it? Do you guys have any advice for those types of teachers that are on the fence?
Do it. Don't hesitate, or at least email and ask questions or talk to the guys because uh, honestly, it it I don't want to say it's one of the easiest units I teach, but it's definitely not the hardest unit I teach. And even though it's equipment intensive, there's other stuff that I do that's equipment intensive that so I wouldn't let like that part worry you. It is going to be interesting. I'm hearing Matt talk about like now he has to keep up with the boards that he has and he has to take care of them. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that part. I'm like so psyched to get my own boards, but I'm like, oh, now we got to take care of them when they like crash them into the wall and they start to do whatever. Um, but like don't let if you're worried about like the equipment hassles, there's lots of ways to deal with that. Um, and I definitely don't let any fear of like, I can't do this, so how can I teach it? Because the first year I barely got on a board at all, to be honest. And my kids still had a blast and I was still able to teach them and be there for them. And then like the second year I started getting more comfortable. I mean, I'm just like them. It took me a while, but now I'm like, I can't wait to skateboard and get on them and I want to my goals this year, a skateboard club in the month of March, like five sessions, and then a family skate night. Those are my two goals for this year to make happen because I just think it'll be awesome. So,
Heck yeah.
All right. First of all, Deb, I just love hearing your story anytime you're talking. Like, I don't know, I'm just inspired by the fact that like you're just right there in it learning. And I wish I could say the same with every unit I teach, but it's not like, just not. Um, I'm Deb said it perfectly, like just do it. If for some reason it comes down to getting the equipment or accessing that, like obviously contact them. But I'm just going to promote what a little bit of what I saw at Shape, Pennsylvania, with Chad is first push raffling off basically a station set. So was it 5 decks? 4? 6?
Yeah, we were raffling off 5 pods. So we raffled off 4 5 pods. So 4 people. I think it was 2 teachers and 2 college students in PE in the physical education program at their schools got 5 pod of gear and training too.
Which is again just shows highlights the amazing work that first push is doing. But that's just like that's if you're worried about it, that's the entry point is you have 5 decks and you're doing a teaching station, and your other stations are stations you trust your students to be able to do with either whatever other adults you have or no adult help really, other than your occasional check-in. If that is how you kind of run stations, it's like an entry point. It's just 5 at a time, or get 5 and do a club. But like find the easiest way to enter. It might be just starting small. So if you only have 5 decks and you're doing a club, maybe you only let 5 people in at a time. And then when you think about impact, and I like the fact that, oh, wait, hold on, I'm not skipping something. If you're worried about equipment, my next step, Deb, is taking the model from my old school. When we had the bikes, it was partnered with the local bike shop right down the road. I don't have a skate shop in my town, but we have local ones, and then obviously have connections through First Push, but also I think I have some mutual friends. So I'm like, okay, I'm going there. I'm like, hey, this impacts this many students in this district. What kind of deal can we work out? Or what can you do to at least help me? I know I can always hit up First Push and be like, can you send me your equipment stuff? But also there's like for little maintenance stuff, I feel like if I can just go get the bearings when I need them or whatever, it's like it's right there and supporting local. And I'll just add sharing it in the district. The other middle school was the one that hit up Facebook Marketplace, and because First Push sent us a penny board, and then I bought with my budget 2 more of the same model. So I had 3 penny boards by the end of my unit. I just didn't have them for that first week where that one girl wanted a penny board. She missed it, but we have them now. So like building that surplus, we decided that like if you buy anything for your school outside the pod, you keep it. Like it doesn't travel to the other schools. I would have been willing to share, but that was more of their point, and I was fine with it. I'm like, that's okay too. Like whatever I buy, I don't have to worry about someone else breaking and fixing. And then the last thing you said, club. Just going to share my screen real quick. Evidence. This is from one of my students. You don't have to read it all, but clearly it's called Skateboarding Club. She had it last year when we had the pod, and then had it this was before. This is in June. So she had it the beginning of 2025. She had skateboarding in September, October of 2025. Sent me this email in June because she knew we were going to be getting skateboards in the fall. And it was like, yo, here are all my ideas. And I haven't done much with it, but it just, again, shows that impact and like the goals, like what's next? Like, how can you build it? What can you do more? And again, shout out to Chad, because that's my next step is Chad has some like creative games he shared in his session in Pennsylvania. And that's where it's like pushing students to try a little more. It's like, I don't care how you skate, but like we're going to engage in this group activity. Because most of my skateboarding is like individual learning. So how do I make it a little bit more of a team thing? Like you mentioned that too, Braden. It's like an individual thing, but you also like we're all kind of a team too. So anyways, yeah.
Heck yeah. You know, and Chad, so the games that you used obviously tweaked from a lot of Matt's ideas. Ice cream shop, man. Scooping the ice cream cones, turning to ice cream shop, and I was like, ooh, hungry hippos. Pretty much like any activity that you can think of doing on the scooters, the sit down scooters, you can adapt it or modify it for skateboarding. so I'm always trying to think of like something different that we could try. I thought of doing like a like foosball style on skateboards. Like you can only move like side to side. So you got your like each group set up, you get the soccer ball, and you gotta like sit down, you're crab walking essentially, going back and forth on your skateboard, kicking the soccer ball, like moving it down the line. Um, so but love to hear from like, everyone else. If you guys have any questions for Matt or for Deb, feel free to drop in the chat or chime in. Matt C has been putting some stuff in the chat. Um, one of them is an article review by me about, pretty much why skateboarding, why you should bring it to your schools. He also put in some of our resources to kind of extend on the lesson plans that we have, those core four. But like I said, feel free. We'd love to hear from you. So chime in. Um, and yeah, any questions?
I did just want to say to Deb that we are going to be giving you a spare parts kit, and I'll show you all about how that works when I come in tomorrow. And I was talking to my wife. I'm working her through how we're going to teach the class tomorrow, so I'm all excited. She sounded okay. She was like, I guess. So I think it'll be good. It'll be fun.
I'm sure it'll be great. And thanks for letting me know that. The kids are excited. They've been asking a million questions. And also one kid was like, should I bring my pads in for the build on Tuesday? It's like, no, you don't need to bring your pads in for that build because we're gonna have pads actually now. And if we get a chance, we'll ride. So save those for when we're doing the unit. But yeah, they're so excited.
Awesome.
I'm
Yeah.
excited. I can't wait.
And I did find a link, and I'll actually drop it in the group chat. But we did work with a teacher who also had the same kind of thought process on hairnets and how they're kind of wasteful. And we have to use them just because that's our model. We can't give every school reusable hairnets. But she ended up ordering her own reusable hairnets that she uses for the program, and she just launders them and takes them back, and a little bit less wasteful. I love it, but it's you know for how we do skateboarding with so many schools, the ones we touch are what we have to do.
No, I totally get that. But I remember you mentioning, somebody who does reusable ones. So yeah, if you have that information, share it with me. And I'd also love to, Chad, I'm assuming you're the one that they keep talking about in Pennsylvania who has games. So I'm really interested in games. Matt, I haven't used games. I remember now you mentioned the bowling thing, which I think I've never done that with kids. And I think they would absolutely lose their minds about getting to skate into pins and knock them down, like foam pins, obviously, but or plastic. But I haven't really done games. I've done mostly like stations or tricks or, just free skating. So I guess one of my goals is to do some games this year too. So I don't know, Chad, if you're willing to, or if you guys at First Push have a link on your website or whatever that you can direct me to, but definitely be up for some games this year.
Yeah, sorry if my phone, you could hear that. I hate that it's connected to my computer. That's where the sound comes from. I'm like, stop, mute. Sorry, Deb. But I just want to, that's something I wanted to actually mention is, again, shout out to Chad because like I had shared a lot of stuff like with First Push that I was doing. Like the ice cream idea was more, again, like challenge by choice. So I usually offered it to people in the kind of skate circle like, hey, can you skate around, like, hey, you take this, Deb, as you're skating, and can you hand it off to someone else? So just like a challenge. And I think I just said ice cream cone and mentioned that, right? And some of the other challenges I gave, Chad kind of has developed into like a game that has a pattern or like I think it's important to have a like rules of the road. Anytime we're on wheels, at the same time, skate parks are not like that. So I usually have all my students going the same direction. I guess that's another thing you have to consider is when I do my circles, do I let kids be at lower levels? Because now you got kids' hands going, pushing when they're on their knees or something while there's kids standing. right? Going in circles, going at their own speeds. So I think I based that off the responsibility of each class of like, ooh, you're a responsible class. I trust you more. You can do whichever kind of skating you want in whatever area you want. And the others, I'm like, if you want to be anything that's not standing, you gotta be over there. You gotta be in a different zone. Um, yeah, I'm gonna stop.
If you take a look at the chat, we do have a full-on resource library that has, lesson plans, games, all free for our trained teachers. So please make sure you guys check that out. Um, you know, as we wrap up, I kind of just want to say a huge thank you to obviously, Deb and Matt. Matt, we didn't get to hear about your one word. We did hear from Deb. Deb's was joy. So meaningful PE. When you brought that up, I just stared right at you. Deb was like, oh, see, joy. Um, so if you don't mind, Matt, Shan, what's your one word?
My one word is I changed it kind of like to a phrase, and so you're not gonna be able to read it because my thing's on blur. But it says to skateboard is to explore, and I think through the accomplishments kids feel through it, the perseverance, like that exploration itself through taking on healthy risk, but then also it's wheels, it moves. It's like it then becomes an avenue to explore the world and now becomes a way of transportation. So I honestly had no idea about that until an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago. I'm like, what's the one word I really want? And I'm really happy I came to explore because it's helped me explore my own teaching. It's helped me explore or rediscover the exciting parts of skateboarding that I like. It's helped my students explore their own challenges and their motor competence. And hopefully for some of them, it'll help them explore the world.
Love it. Love it. Again, like thank you guys, both of you for sharing your experiences, ideas, and your honesty tonight about, the program. What you heard tonight is a perfect reminder that there's no single right way to, teach the Get On Board program. Like we do, yes, we provide a curriculum, our core four, it kind of gives you like the tools. But obviously you guys bring it to life. We try to encourage like everyone to try to take one idea that you heard tonight, try with your own students. We are going to be hanging out here for a little bit after this. So if you still want to chat, talk, we're going to be here. Some additional information that we have, please check out our website for the general info, www.firstpush.org. You can learn all about our program if you reach out to learn@firstpush.org. Scan the QR code to you receive our newsletter. We give a monthly and a mid-month. The next virtual session is going to be I Heart Skateboarding. It's going to be an open session, so we're going to be trying to invite, everyone that we've had in the past and hopefully some new guests, to come and just kind of discuss all things, skateboarding. To register, you can register now by scanning that QR code on the bottom. And I just want to give, a couple shout outs. So obviously, Brendan Natoli, childhood friend of mine, a tech ed teacher in Swampscott, Mass, lifelong skater as well. So we've known each other for since we were born, and followed both parents' fields. His dad's a tech ed teacher at the middle school level, so he's at the high school level. Brennan, he makes, I think you've shaped boards, right? Have you created boards with your students?
Um, surfboards. We haven't done any surfboards with my kids, but I used to do more. I do skateboards depending on the interest level of the student. But yeah, we've built boards. I'd love to bring this back. It kind of comes in phases. But I did long boards and like cruiser style boards in the past when I taught in Cambridge. I teach in Swampscott now, so I've done like penny style boards. I'm trying to bring it back right now. Guitars are a big thing. So, but it's just ebbs and flows with the generations with the skateboards. But I'm trying to push it, trying to bring it back. I think we can talk later too about just getting the buy-in when I tried to introduce this program, and it was that the janitor was like, "Oh, the floors." So we have new admin now, and I'm going to try to introduce this again. But there's so much that you can do with this in terms of like building the boards, having students skate the boards they build. But yeah, it was nice to come tonight and just hear some feedback from you guys that have actually done this. but I'd like to bring it in. We have new admin, so I think I can push to bring this in. But yeah, we build boards, from the ground up, which is cool when the students want to. So
Hey,
But
just speaking on that, Brennan, something I didn't learn till after, because I don't know enough about skateboard is like the hardness of wheels and like
right.
why First Push picks the wheels they pick is because they're safe for floors. And yeah.
yep. I think we do we have a resource, Matt, on the wheels that we use and why we chose them?
We don't have a resource, but we did.
I thought we had like a
So
letter.
we designed these wheels. These wheels are manufactured for us. I think they have a 97A durometer. They're very soft. It might even be a 90 durometer now that I think about it. But all the hardware on our wheels is coned in. So there's nothing metal touching the floor. And we cut our grip tape specifically back so that no grip tape ever touches floor. So the only thing that would touch your floor is wood and the softer urethane wheels. We base it off of the impact of floor hockey, so it has less impact than floor hockey would.
Yeah, there's definitely workarounds. There's like cork, I know, grip tape, and there's some other like softer, like it's not even grip tape. It's like a soft material that people are using now to prevent shoes from being ripped. Like I've tried it before. They're not as good as grip tape, but that's another option. Yeah, it's just getting the buy-in. It just we have a lot of, I love the custodians, but they're kind of grumpy. We have a new school, both we have a new high school that's kind of new, brand new middle school. So they're just unless it's outside, I just even if I sell it, I think the teachers have to battle that. Like, is it worth the pushing back for, you know what I mean? But um no, these are all you guys have like thought of almost everything in terms of I think most teachers have this kind of speed bump when they start is the floors is gonna scratch from at least what I hear. I like Deb and um whoever I forget your name who was just speaking about the other teacher of the year, but the same, you guys have good admin that seem to be on board, but I feel like a lot of teachers get that pushback of the floors is gonna scratch, yada yada yada. But yeah, we'll see what we can do in my district. I have teachers that are on board. I just have to bring it to them.
Honestly, one of my biggest issues is we actually have like this rubberized floor. I wasn't there when they went from the
Mm.
wood to rubberized, and they don't roll, the boards don't roll as well on a
Mhm.
rubberized floor. Like even regular scooters or any of those like easy rider roll on, like rolling, you know, things. I have a few of those. So for the club, I want to bring them in the hallways because the hallways are great. You can really go in the hallways. And it's kind of good that you can't go too fast in the gym because the gym isn't also huge. It's an elementary school gym that is barely just bigger than a basketball court. So if they got going really fast, they just run into a wall basically. So unless they can turn really well. But yeah, that's been my biggest issue is there's some that want to go faster. And I mean they can go fast enough that when we're doing a big oval, they're turning and they can continue to go. But uh that's been my not scrap, I'm not worried about scraping the floor. And to be honest, the tables that they put out for lunch give more of a problem to the floor than any skateboard has ever done. So yeah.
Exactly. And we have another shout out. I want to Zachary Turan. Zach is a UNH APE student and also has been helping us out a ton, taking a look at our adaptive programming. So what's up, Zach?
Hey, I just had a quick question, actually for Deb. She mentioned kind of smaller spaces. Some of the adapted PE spaces I've worked in have much smaller gyms, or at least movement spaces. And so when you're in like I guess a smaller space, what kind of space constraints would you kind of see? Um, I guess like preliminarily before teaching, like what would be your space concerns in a smaller space?
Well, my space just bigger than a basketball court, barely, is certainly big enough for like a lot of the introductory stuff for especially for little kids, but even for big kids is like going straight across, coming straight back, going straight across, coming straight back, and we do that in two lines. It's more, and even like when the whole class is going in a circle or oval, it's okay. it's when I try to differentiate. And of course, that's what I want to do. I want to give kids a lot of choice. I want to have like a tricks section over here, and I want to have the build your own, mini skate park over here. And then I still want kids to be able to free skate if they don't want to do either of those things. And maybe I even am trying to get one other station in there. So then I have like 3/4 of the gym to just over a half of the gym for free skating in a circle, which isn't giving kids much real chance to really get going. You know what I mean? So that's a little bit of that's probably my biggest issue is like being able to offer enough choice, but still have free skate as a choice. Um, and I haven't wanted to go out. I'm by myself, so I can't really let kids go out in the halls. And I mean, I can only imagine the chaos that would ensue, even though I just think God, it would be so much fun for them. But I can't do it. I can't do it. It's all right. I'm not going to do it. Um, but yeah, the biggest issue I think would be certainly, I mean, kids want to skate free. They want to free skate. That's what they're really psyched to do. So I have to like hold them back to just go, we're going across and back a couple times. We're reviewing. Yeah, I need to show me how to stop and all that kind of stuff before we can get going. And if your space is really small, then how are you going to get them to really get to be able to like push, 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 glide and turn? They want to get that feel. I don't know if you can go outside. I haven't skated outside with my kids at all yet. I've only been in the gym. I've only been inside. But it sounds like Brendan does a lot outside. I don't know if you do outside, Matt, or if Chad does any, but I don't know if that would be an option for you, Zachary, or if that's an idea, but that might be
Yeah,
the other way to go.
that's great. Like experience. That's awesome. Thank you.
I'll just add that it's um, just like the child buying a skateboard, deciding what their intent is. Like as a teacher, before you get invested in it, and this is where first push or support's going to help you, is you got to decide: are you going to be an outdoor or an indoor skate unit? Like once you have that's more important to figure out before you go to admin, or you work that out within admin because the gym's an issue. Okay, we'll find a way to do it outside. Um, but as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about how like I think it's Shape America has like infographics of kind of along with advocacy. They've had many over the years, but sometimes it's like an advocacy infographic of why to go to Shape America and why your admin should support you going to it, um, and or different motions like that. And so when I hear Brennan speak how he has had admin not support in the past, I'm wondering, is there any infographic or information and or the opportunity to create one for this exact question in the future for all people? Like it sounds like, Matt, you have tons of data. You have data why you don't use wrist guards, right? You have data that the floor hockey stick is more impactful. At least I'm assuming based on what you said, you're finding that the floor hockey stick has more of an impact on the gym floor than the skateboard wheel, right? That, like all those pieces and parts, injuries compared to other sports, any reason someone might shut down skateboarding. Um, and that's not something I'm saying First Push needs to create, but maybe could help create as we have these conversations, to figure out what are the barriers that are stopping people. Um, and and then once you get that, it's addressing this issue that kind of Zach brings up is everyone's environment is different. And so, no matter how much we share, you still need to adapt it to your environment and your students. And First Push does a great job addressing that and all potential hazards you might find in your space and stuff. So, but just remembering that it's like one mission, but everyone's road there looks different, right?
Exactly. And you hit it. Yeah. Hit it on the head.
The other thing I was thinking of briefly was like some schools have other spaces too. Like, so if you're in a building that has another, like we happen to have it's just a classroom, but it's a different space depending on how big your space is that is not in use. Or some places just, I know different schools, depending on what they have available, might have other like optional movement spaces or rooms that are you can reserve or spaces that you can reserve. So like consider all the places in your school where you might be able to make this happen. The quietest hallway where there's less classrooms or, any kind of thing like that.
Hi, Chad.
See you,
Um,
Chad.
Talking about environmental concerns, though, one that I think is you maybe not consider environmental concern because it doesn't remain every class, but the students themselves are, how they ride in the space. How are you teaching them to be considerate of the other riders, right? And I think, Deb, you're kind of hinting at that. Like you are addressing, you are monitoring, being like, okay, it's not safe doing it this way. We need to stop. I got to find a different way to do it because they're not turning and whatever. For me in middle school, it's like the one kid that ignores the cone we're supposed to circle around and he's just doing the diagonals, all push, no skate, as fast as he can. I'm like, whoa, that's an environmental concern. I need to talk to this student, make them a little more self and social aware. So even our students can be, and then also that piece of board, right? Like I'd say my first year, most of my injuries came from that, not from a kid falling, getting hit from another kid's board.
By the way, in elementary school, board is their favorite part of the whole thing. They just want to yell board as loud as they can, as often as they can.
I feel like you could make like someone that wants to try and make a hustle in children's books. Like when you're teaching that to early kids, I feel like you can make like teaching the idea of board uh like into a fun children's picture.
Oh, easily. We're working on
Or
this.
just the skill or just the skills in general that you teach.
We got Bordy getting down with Bordy. No, that'll be the children's book. No, it's funny. Matt, you brought up a good point though about the creating the data. It's because we have been collecting that, and we have been, analyzing, like looking at other sports, the injury rates, and for the longest time, skateboarding wasn't even like the top 10. The only reason it got on the list and was increasing is because they categorized it with hoverboards and all the
Mm-hmm.
hoverboards. Yeah,
And if you create like an infographic that has your why that you probably explained before I got in, right? Like why skateboarding, right? And then you have a different section of that infographic that has the numbers, the data of why it's safe. If you're worried about it being safe, right? I think you have like your quotes from your teachers, whatever. But like then someone like Brennan can just be like, hey, here's why I feel. And by the way, here's this additional evidence of why it's approved, you know. Not to mention you throw in there that you've been a exhibitor at the Shape America National Conference, like the PE and health organization for our country, right? Like I think all I'm saying is that helps again eliminating that question in the future of not having people turn this down because it's not safe or it's not worth it or whatever. It just helps like strengthen that.
does definitely. All right, gang. It's 9 o'clock. We were rolling tonight. So obviously, thank you guys so much for coming out. This is such an awesome community. Highly recommend come to our next session, our next virtual session, in February. I Heart Skateboarding. It's gonna be more of an open session. So conversations like this, getting ideas, and I believe we weren't able to have like some of the um people in the skateboard like industry. Like we have connections with CSEF, the Collegiate Skateboarding Education Foundation. They've been a part of it. We had Skate Clubs of America. They were a part of it. I mean, we had students from Oklahoma, Arizona State, with us at our last session. So, highly recommend coming to check it out. Um, and yeah, keep this community strong, keep it growing. So Deb and Matt, I'm pumped that you guys got to meet each other, got to communicate with each other. It was just really cool, like listening to you both talk and sharing ideas and what you guys do and how you teach it. And I just hope that everyone else kind of, you know, got something from that because I certainly did.